St Leonards Church has been a church here since, as far as we know, between 1150 and 1180. So it's been here for 900-ish years. And really, it's always just been here, and it's always been the little church in Farlington. Richard Haste, I'm the church warden of St Leonards Farlington, which is the church that's behind us. Church warden, there are usually two for a parish. We're responsible for making sure the church is ready for its regular services, weddings, funerals and that sort of thing. We have to be welcoming to the people who come here. Yes, I work in the churchyard. I don't do much vacuuming in the church to get rid of the spiders. I usually get given the brass to polish or something like that. And church wardens have to swear an oath of allegiance to the Archbishop each year. St Leonards Church has been a church here since, as far as we know, between 1150 and 1180. And in Victorian times, it got to the point where it was in a pretty poor condition structurally. But Farlington Church congregation was a strong one, and they raised funds for it, including £500 raised in the village, to have the church rebuilt. The architect who was appointed to oversee it had the church taken down to ground level and built back up with the windows where they had been before, and the only two relatively new parts on the west wall, the far end, that was described before the rebuilding as being completely rotten and about to fall out. That is new, and the vestry behind me, that was added at the time as well. Other than that, it's Farlington Church as it was in 1886, taken down and built back up again. There are two bells. Bells were rung to make people aware that the service was going to start. They were rung during the service, parts of the service. Even Stillington still rings its bell during communion. So they had those two roles. At times they've been rung to alert people to times of war. So they've been the broadcasting system or the alarm system and the warning system and the welcoming system for each community which has got a church with bells. The north one, this side, is our earliest bell. It dates from the 1390s. It was cast by a founder called Thomas de Wald, somewhere in the Hull Beverley area, but it's been around for a very long time. It's classed as being of historical significance. There are only 10 Thomas de Wald bells left in existence. It's gone through the Reformation. If you think about it, it was a Roman Catholic church until Henry VIII came along. Then it stayed Church of England, Protestant church, through to Edward VI, then back to Roman Catholic under Mary, and then it's been Protestant ever since. The Spanish Armada, Magna Carta, so it's lived through all of that. The new bell, cast somewhere between 1640 and early 1700s, it's only about 300 years old, and that was cast in a bell foundry in York. So if you go into where York Market is these days, that was where the bell foundry was. Those two bells up there have been doing what I just said for the community of Farlington ever since, as far back as we know, but possibly back to the 1390s. And they were doing that right up until 2012. And in 2012 we detected a problem with one of the bells, and that's the south bell, far one, and it's come partly adrift from the headstock, which is the big wooden beam, and it's leaning and it's scraping against the bell turret. And there is a person called the Diocesan Bells Advisor. He came out and he advised that we didn't use it anymore. So we still used the north bell until 2014. We were warned not to use it too much. It too was in a fairly unsafe condition, both for our sakes and for the bell's sake, because it's a very historic bell. And it was last rung in 2014 to toll a bell for a funeral. And we looked at carrying out the necessary works to them. At the time, we also had to rewire the life expired electrical installation in the church. The heating had packed up, and the bells were put on the back burner for another day. But we're getting to the point now where the headstocks are cracking. We can't leave it much longer. Once we've got the money, or sufficient money to start going ahead, we have already signed up to a bell hanging company to do the bells work, and we've signed up to a stonework restoration company who will do the bell turret work. And we have scaffolders lined up as well. But we do want to do it within this financial year if we can, because if we go ahead this year, we should be able to reclaim the VAT on the cost, which is about £3,500, which is well worth having back. There's really two main elements. There's getting the money and getting the practical people to do the work. So we applied to Church Buildings Council. They granted us £2,500, and that means that we've got about 30% in the bank already to start the work going ahead. And if you've got 30% in the bank, you can then ask other people for grants as well. So there's a sort of ripple effect with this. There's a big fundraising. We do it in August, the Farlington pop-up tea room. It's called the Scrumptious Tarts Tea Room. That doesn't refer to the two church wardens, that refers to what you're going to eat. And that should raise us about £1,000. And then there's a grand prize Christmas bingo which goes down well. That's held in Sheriff Hutton Village Hall because it's a much bigger place, and that should make us about £800. We are starting an appeal next week. Any sum will be welcome, but large sums will be exceptionally welcome. And we have grants out, grant applications hopefully will bring us in £10,000 to £12,000. Once we've got the money, once we get going, the first thing that you'll visibly see is the scaffolding going up. Once that happened, the bell hangers will come and take them down and take them away to their bell hanging factory, which is in Oxfordshire. And then the firm that's going to do the stonework, they will come in and they've got 4 weeks to do the stonework renovations. Then the bells come back with their new fixtures and fittings, and they will be rehung, and then once they're in, that's it. We're back to ringing the bells for the next 139 years. It's a good investment. It's protecting 2 historic bells, but it's also leaving them there to hang for to ring for another 100 and however many years, and that takes that financial pressure off the people who will succeed me and my fellow church warden Sally and the PCC in the years to come. Not everybody in Farlington comes to church, or they only come on special occasions, but they still want the church to be here. And as such, there are people who give regularly to the church who have said that they want it to remain, and therefore they're willing to support it even though they're not regular churchgoers. And I think that sums up a lot of the attitude in the village. It'll add to St Leonards place in Farlington if on Sundays when we have church services the bells are giving their little welcoming ring to remind people that the church is there, and it might bring more people in if they hear the bells. Bells have a habit of doing that. Yes, the appeal starts on the August bank holiday weekend, and we hope people from this village, people from surrounding villages, and other people out elsewhere in the countryside who cherish the thoughts of little parish churches carrying on doing what they've done for a very long time. If they value that and want to help us keep Farlington Church, St Leonards Church in Farlington, alive with its church services, its bells ringing, we would value them contributing towards it.